Hello, everybody, and welcome to XPNsion Network, Accelerating the Consciousness of Humanity. This is episode number 5 of the Maverick Mindset Show. This is Angel Vivo from Dallas, Texas. I'm known in the world of business here as the CEO Confident, and known in Latin America as the co-founder and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation. And speaking of wisdom, here we have again Michael and Gabrielle Spencer. Hi, Michael and Gabrielle. How are you today?
We're great. How are you?
Hello.
Great. Thank you. How was your week? Tell me all about it.
Was fantastic. It was so wonderful.
You were on vacation last week. Are you still on vacation?
No. We're back in real life. We got to go away together, which we haven't done in a couple of years without our kids. So it was really a treat for us to get to spend time together and do what we wanted, right? So we came back rested and ready to go.
And now we're slammed with work.
Excellent. That's great. That's great news. You know, it's as far as, you know, as everybody says, right? Our work should be always like being on vacation. That would be the best scenario possible for all of us. And we should all try to tend towards that situation. But let's start, because today we're going to have a very intense show again, the Maverick Mindset Show. And a very important part of having a Maverick mindset is actually using the power of our minds. How? Manifesting the dreams into reality. That's the subject matter for today. I love the subject matter. There's a lot of people talking about reality creation, about manifestation, about the law of attraction, so many things that people are talking about. But today, finally, the truth is going to be revealed, because Michael and Gabrielle are going to finally tell everyone what manifesting the dreams into reality is all about. So let's start with this. Why did you pick this subject for today, Michael and Gabrielle?
Well, we had already gone over the basic components of what mass consciousness versus higher consciousness is. So in finishing that up, we wanted to really start the process of what manifestation is really about, what creation is in this 3D reality and even in higher dimensions. And it has to do with the mind. And the reason that I say that is that in these higher realities, it is the mind that literally creates everything. And you use your emotions and things like that as fuel sources to create.
All right. So, excuse me, did you want to add anything, Gabrielle?
Was that the shortest answer ever?
Well, we'll go into it in more detail.
And so, the interesting component about creation, and there are components, and this is the part that we're going to talk about today, because the emotions that we have, and people often think of, you know, when we say love, everybody wants to think about romantic love, but actually we're talking about a frequency, right? And so the emotions, when they are high, it means when our frequency is high, that is what we mean by the fuel along with the mindset to create. And so we're going to talk more about all of that.
Excellent. So let's start with the first. Obviously, we're talking about manifesting the dreams into reality. Okay. So first of all, you know, what dreams? Because, you know, there's a lot of different dreams, right? Everybody can have like lots of different dreams. So what would be for you, according to your experience, guys, what would be the starting point to manifesting the dreams into reality?
Well, the first thing you really need to understand is that whatever your mind can believe in and or conceive, you can bring into reality, okay? The key is, what are you going to bring into reality? So what are these dreams? So these dreams, like we talked about before, first of all, they have to align with what your moral and value structure is. They have to align with what your life trajectory is on your soul path. They have to align with what you plan to do in your own evolutionary state. If, and I'm assuming everybody watching this program is in a higher perspective, a higher consciousness drive, where you are going to want to manifest things that are going to help increase that potential. So when we talk about manifesting in dreams, we're not just talking about 3D, the mundane type of stuff that everybody's, you know, oh, I want the perfect partner, I want a great career, I want more abundance and things like that. Those things are important, granted. But we're also going to talk about the dreams that enable you to reach your potential in this life, whatever that particular potential is destined to be.
All right, so what's the starting point? What is the starting point? How would you like to start this today? How would you like to help people start manifesting their dreams into reality?
Okay, so just like I said earlier, whatever the mind can conceive, whatever you can believe in, and belief is a key component in this. And it's not the key component that everybody thinks. Belief is key because this is a process. And it doesn't just happen overnight like a lot of people like to believe. I mean, there's plenty of folks out there that
I think we have an issue with the audio. We cannot hear you right now, I am afraid. Hello, my apologies. We cannot hear you. Let me text them. Yeah, we lost you. My apologies to everybody. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is episode number 5 of the Maverick Mindset Show. We're having some audio issues here with Gabrielle and Michael. Can you hear us? Is everything okay? Let me put this back to where we were in the beginning. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Hello, hello. This is episode number 5. We were starting to talk about manifesting the dreams into reality. And Michael was starting to actually answer that question. Okay, now we have audio again. Thank you. Please go ahead. We lost you before.
Okay. So again, what I said earlier, whatever the mind can believe and conceive, it can bring into a reality. There's a key component there with belief. And belief doesn't necessarily have to do with, can I buy into my visions or my visualizations and everything? Belief is key because you will be doing this process for quite a while. It's not a process that comes instantaneously. I know people are out there offering that, and good luck. I hope it works for some of you. But for the people that I've known, and for the practice that I'm going to explain right now, which has been done for thousands of years, it's done in a lot of the secret society sects. It's been done in a lot of ancient Egyptian mystery school and other type of mystery schools. The process is the same. Even Napoleon Hill in The Law of Success outlined it very clearly. The very first thing you have to do is you got to be very mindful at the onset of what you are putting into your mind, especially into your subconscious. You want to make sure that you are placing and are exposed to higher consciousness principles. And we talked about that ad nauseum in the last few classes. So you have to understand that thoughts can be very, very powerful, especially, and this is the key, when they're mixed with a definitive purpose, a directive that you are going to engage in throughout this process, whether this process is weeks, months, or even years, depending on what you're trying to manifest or create. All right. Any definitive, deliberately applied purpose, when it's mixed with when it's downloaded into the subconscious mind and it's combined with determination, that's the key for the success again. Again, any definitive purpose has to be deliberately fixed in the mind, especially into the subconscious, and it's got to be applied with a strict rule of determination. It's got to saturate the subconscious mind. And you need to remember, when you're saturating the subconscious mind, this thought has to be strong because it's competing against all of the mass consciousness thoughts out there. And what are they? They're lower frequency thoughts. Okay. And they want to pull you off your path. Okay. So it has this positive, deliberately fixed purpose, this definitive purpose has to saturate the subconscious mind, and then it will begin to, over time, influence the actions towards attaining it. All right. And we'll talk about some of this process. Basically, what you're creating a psychological effect. You're impressing that definitive purpose into your subconscious, and you're establishing a sort of pattern or a blueprint that's going to begin to dominate your thought processes and then in turn dominate the activities in your life.
Of all the different, let's put it this way, of all the different dreams that we might have, all the different goals, objectives, purposes, etc., how do we know the one we want to manifest is the correct one?
Yeah, that is a great, great question. It really is. You have to make sure that whatever that definitive purpose is, is, first of all, it's constructive and of value to you. Okay. It's not some whim. It's not some keeping up with the Joneses. It's not some problem that you are experiencing. You have to turn it from problems or dilemmas or challenges in your life to opportunities. So you have to flip a switch. Think of it as, instead of feeding yourself a fish for the day and solving some immediate problem, you are going to be teaching yourself how to fish for a lifetime, and then creating these manifestations as you go along. All right. They have to align, like we talked about in a prior class, with your own moral and value system. Okay. They have to align with that. You are not going to become a billionaire or something like that if that is not what your true purpose in life is for. All right. That's going to drag you off kilter. And then you have to make sure that it's not going to create hardship or evil for other people. Because when you engage, and here is a fair warning, folks, when you engage in these type of processes, they work. But if you are creating negativity for other people, that karma is going to come back on you very strongly, very strongly. And then it has to bring, ideally, peace, prosperity, or some higher purpose objective into your life. Preferably higher frequencies, and then it's got to give back to the world and others. And I'm sure Gabrielle's got some great thoughts on this too.
I do. I'm going to be practical. Okay. Most of the time when somebody has said to me in a coaching situation, they'll say, I never want to do X, right? I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to do that. I want to figure out another way. And I just want to say, it's generally the thing you don't want to have to do that is your purpose. And I have spoken to that before. Michael and I both have spoken to it about ourselves and how, we didn't want to have to go out and do what we do in public, et cetera. We just wanted to keep it low key. And we had to accomplish it in order to follow our highest purpose. And I can tell you as well, when you're on your higher purpose path, when the opportunities do start flowing to you, when the people come into your life that are meant to be in your life in a positive way. They're not teaching you your lessons through pain, right? Like Michael said, if you're bringing hardship to others, then that's definitely not your path, right? And it's the same with others when they come into your life. So if they're causing you pain, and you can have the consciousness to know, you know what, I don't need to learn my lesson this way, etc. And I don't need to evolve this way. So these are other ways to know intuitively if you're on your path. So sometimes if it's forcing your path to be more courageous, to do things that are not necessarily comfortable for you, that is what is helping you stretch beyond your own limitations and to evolve. And that is our ultimate divine path. It helps all of us to evolve to our greatest potential. And I will just say again, that is not always comfortable. So we need to feel within ourselves, does it make me feel inspired? Do I have the courage to do it? And then you will start to see what's standing in your way if you look at it as to what you're feeling when you're thinking about it, or you're meditating on it, or you're getting guidance. I hear a lot of things that people will tell me, and I feel like, that's just not big enough, getting that job, or like Michael said, having the relationship, etc. Though that's not a big enough divine purpose. It's not a big enough reason. It's not a big enough why for you to be here. And so when we open our hearts and we are receiving, the daily information, you will know if you are on your right divine path. And I don't feel that there's ever one answer like, okay, this is it. And this is my other favorite, when clients will say to me, I know what my purpose is. And it'll be like, oh, I'm going to open up a health center or something. And I always giggle because I think that might be your divine purpose in this moment, but that is not the end. You need to get there. I always think of it like a highway, and you know how the highways have mile markers. So that's a mile marker. It's something that you need to accomplish, but that is not the be all end all of your divine purpose. It's on your path. And so we have to be open to that our path is also evolving with us as our vibration increases. And that makes it even cooler because it's an adventure. So the courage to seek adventure means you're open and you're willing and you're in alignment, asking to be shown where your path is leading you.
So this
Excellent.
is kind
Yep.
Sorry, to your point, because I think it's extremely important, because we're talking right now about like life purpose. But my question for you both, after answering the question, is: can anybody manifest a number of dreams at the same time? Do we have to only focus on one? Because I think that you mentioned the word like flooding. I think it was you, Michael, who said like flood your subconscious with this super powerful statements that you always fill our beings and our higher selves with energy as soon as you say them. You're a powerful, definitely a powerful speaker. But can we manifest more than one dream at the same time, or than one desire at the same time? And I definitely encourage everyone that is watching us today, please ask drop your wishes, drop your dreams, drop your life purposes, ask questions, because Michael and Gabrielle are here to help you make those dreams come true. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Gabrielle and Michael are here today to do that. So please be our guests and feel free to drop your questions, drop your dreams here, so we'll help you to manifest them. But please continue. And what's your thoughts? What are your thoughts about manifesting one or maybe many at the same time?
Well, the short answer to your question is yes, you can do more than one definitive purpose or more than one thought-driven objective. The key, though, is, and I like to use that word key because there are some key elements in all of this. Start off slow. Build confidence. This process takes some time because you are literally rewiring your pumpkin, for lack of a better word. One of the most important things that you have to do, there's things that are happening in conjunction with when you are doing these type of visualizations and whatnot. You are, in essence, restructuring your own thought processes into positivity, into goals-oriented, definitive, purpose-driven objectives. So start small. It's like, I call this very similar to like bodybuilding or working out. You don't walk in and immediately start doing, a 2-hour workout, unless you want to be incredibly sore and give up after a couple of weeks. You don't start off doing something really intense. You build yourself up. This process, it literally is like, it's like bodybuilding. It takes time. You've got to go into the gym every day, 4, 5, 6 days a week. You got to spend 30 to 45 minutes, an hour and a half or so. You've got to start eating properly. You've got to start making sure that you get enough rest, making sure that the quality of the food is correct, enough protein, all of these different components. Well, those components that I just described for bodybuilding are the same type of things you're going to have to do for this process. And one of the key elements is you've got to restructure your thought processes. So if you're watching a lot of negativity, you're exposed to a lot of these mass consciousness thoughts, you are going to have to start actively and consciously flipping it over to positive thoughts. The old saying, as a man or woman or whatever thinketh, so shall they become. And what are we exposed to? We talked about that in the last few classes in mass consciousness. We are exposed to things that are designed in this 3D duality world to really kind of keep us down at these lower frameworks. The matrix is not, it doesn't care whether you want to manifest and create a successful life or you want to have a mundane life. It doesn't care. It's going to provide whatever it is that you are attracting through your thought processes. So those thoughts must be uplifting. They must have a very strong, definitive direction of what you want to do. And it must be clear in your mind. And you must begin to surround yourself and embed yourself with positivity, because you're going to need it, because when the action element starts to kick in, you're going to have the wherewithal to pursue it. And we'll talk about that in a bit.
Excellent. So, Angela, thank you very much for actually being there and saying, yoo-hoo. Oh my God, yes, she said when we disclosed the main topic that we're going to talk about today. And I am obliged to actually tell her, as we always say, the audience has priority here and we would like to help her. And so Angela has a question. And before anything else, let's have her question here, which is, I have a small food care business and I love doing art classes, but my art classes feel like they came to a halt since last November. How can I reignite them? How can I reignite them? Thank you, Angela.
You want to try this? Or?
Sure. All right, Angela. So a lot of times when something loses energy, there is a higher reason, right? And I know you know this. So the question to you is, what would be the highest service for your art? So you didn't put whether that was you were doing art classes. So I'm guessing that was for part of your income. So when you are connected through your high heart to your higher self, your request to your highest self is to show you how to use your art in service to humanity at the same time as bringing you income. And it may look completely different than what or how you practice art. So it might be reaching out and doing it in a completely different way. It might be offering it to teach students, to young children, how to express themselves through art. But be open to how to you're using to reignite, but it feels like a new direction. So that is what you're wanting to do, is ask how you can be of service and bring this to its next level. Everything, when it loses energy, it means that we are to redirect it. It means that we're to use it in another way, to be open and to be asking how to use it. That's the simplest way versus going into a total business revamp intensive with you. So the simple answer is what I've said. Everything about what we're meant to be doing, what I have found is that when I have in my mind, and this is the part of rewiring your mind, like you know art from the way you've always done it and you want to continue to do it. However, the energy is no longer there. So now the rewiring of your brain is having the courage, right, to seek out a new answer. What is another way of doing what you're doing? And you may find even more joy in it and more money in it. All of those things, but you have to be willing to step out of what you've always known and ask for the guidance to step into something entirely new. And that's what it feels like to me, that you're going to go in a different direction with your art.
Okay, so what we've talked about so far is you have to come up with a definitive purpose. You have to have something that hits your moral structure, your value system, something that means something to you, that's going to give eventually to others and not do any harm. But then one of the big questions that always arises is, if our thought processes are so important, how do we change our dominant thought processes? How do we do that? I mean, we are bombarded by mass consciousness, by these you just have to watch the TV. There's one violent thing on after another. And what it ends up happening is, I'll give you a little trick, or actually it's not even me, it's Napoleon Hill that provided it. And what he did, and he borrowed this from other sources as well, is he would envision himself before he would go to sleep, shut his eyes, he'd have that black canvas in front of him, and he would start to imagine. And what he would imagine would be like a council of elders. Imagine like a group of ascended masters or great people in history or some great teachers. And he would place them all in a council table in front of him. And then he would imagine what their characteristics were like. And he had some background, some of them were far more meditative, others were very intellectual, some of them were great, warriors of, or had incredible integrity and whatnot. And he would sit there with them and he would begin to absorb their personalities. And he would spend a few weeks just learning as much as he could about them. And then when he was sitting there, he would visualize all of their components. He would see them all sitting in front of him. And then he would take those characteristics into him. In time, after a few weeks, he began to talk to these individuals. He would ask them questions and they would answer him. This is his own subconscious mind, or maybe perhaps you connect with something greater with one of these. And they would begin to explain how they developed these characteristics, how they changed their thought processes, why their thoughts were always uplifting versus stuck in mass consciousness, how their thoughts actually created and manifested what they were intending or desiring to do. Okay, so he would look at each one of them and they would begin to explain to him things like, justice and fairness. Another one, how to develop self-confidence, how to self-sacrifice, how to attain a higher value system, how to engage in leadership, gain greater understanding, more compassion, how to become more self-reliant or self-responsible, how to increase their determination. And he would absorb all of this. He would have these every night for a month or two, and he would begin to absorb these traits. And in time, he would then focus those traits into more of the mind. How do they think in these particular characteristics? How do they uplift their thought processes? Why do they think in these manners? And he would have these conversations with each one of these each night, and it would begin to develop a patterning within the brain. Okay, so doing this for months, assuming these characteristics, imprinting these characteristics into the subconscious, that is the key. Remember, the conscious mind, 10, 15% of what your active brain is engaged in. It's that subconscious, the unconscious, that is the 80% plus that's doing most of the work. Okay, so a simpler approach you can use is something like maybe writing whatever your definitive purpose or your desire statement is. Maybe it's abundance, maybe it's greater health, maybe it's a productive career, a great mate, something like that, someone who's going to lift you up. Then begin a process of gently visualizing yourself already in possession of those things. So if you want a better career or you want more customers, you would sit there and be in your place of business, just sitting there talking and interacting and asking the customers, what is it that you need from my business to gain loyalty? Ask another customer that would come in, what is it that I could provide as a service or a product that would give you greater value? And just do this over time. First, see your customers, see how they interact, see how they're doing. I don't know if you have a painting. I don't really know much about that, so I can't comment on that. But however that business operates, see it in its operation, then you're going to begin to interact with those customers specifically. Then bring in almost like a consulting group that's made up of a bunch of people that are already successful in your business, some of the top people in your business, and start having conversations with them. The whole purpose of this is you're beginning this process of rewiring your mind so that it becomes an instrument for success that we'll talk about later. Okay?
Fantastic. When you were talking about thought patterns, something came to my mind. I attended personally a retreat, spiritual retreat, many years ago. Okay, and there were people from literally all over the world, but it was a small group of people. It was like 15 people, and they all went there literally to manifest their dreams. And there was one guy that was extremely concerned. He was like, you could see how he was suffering. He was suffering. And you would never tell, right, before he was asked why he had this phase and he was suffering and why he actually flew all the way from Europe to actually a Pacific island where the retreat was happening. Because he was totally like down and sad because he had not been able to find his life purpose. And he was obsessed, like, in order to succeed in life, I have to know my life purpose.
Oh,
and his thoughts were, I don't know how, I don't know how, I don't know how, I don't know how. So that was his thought process. Unless I find my life purpose, nothing else will fit into place, right? So on taking this into consideration, this particular case, and regardless of what happened during that course, during that retreat, whatever that the leader of that retreat told him to do, whatever, what would you say? What would be your course of action, identifying himself in the place where he was?
I would recommend emotional healing. Here's the thing: when we have a predominant thought, or even like you get stuck in the pattern and your mind is wired a certain way, one of the ways that in quantum healing we actually rewire the brain, and part of that process is to heal the emotions that cause the brain to be stuck, right? So for a lot of people, we've had experiences in other existences that stick with us very strongly when we come into another life, right? And so when we do that, we don't really know even what the origin is, but his thought process was literally causing his whole life to be stuck, right? For him to be thinking these lower vibration thoughts, like, I can't do anything, I'm not able to come up with. And when you have that trajectory, you're just going to get more of the same. So we would start with emotional healing. Where did it come? What lifetime, what existences, because it'll be more than one, and it will keep repeating and repeating and repeating in every existence until he resolves what created that initial glitch in him, because it's a glitch. And I always think of it, I always tell people, imagine a vinyl record and the old ones, right? And the needle, and when it would get stuck in a scratch and it just keeps making the groove bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're never able to play the record correctly. And that's the same thing in our programming. And when Michael's talking about reframing your thoughts, many times we have to do the emotional work that is connected to other existences that created a glitch for you. And so that's my area of expertise, where I go in and I access your Akashic records. I work with your highest self, with your soul, to find those areas for a person so that they can be rewired easily. Like, I know Michael is talking about the repetition, and that is exactly true. But imagine if you get rid of the block and then do the repetition. That makes it faster. You're not fighting yourself.
Yeah, you can turn what could be months or even years into weeks or even months. But again, it is a process. Now, you actually asked two things there. I don't know if you were intending to do that or not, but the first one I'd like to address is the group. Once you get good at this process, and you want to be good at it before you're really working with groups. Well, that's not true. You can work with groups at any time, but you get the most out of it when people really know how to engage in this process. You can do some amazing high-level things that maybe we'll talk about next class in groups, because especially if there is a higher divine purpose towards manifesting something for the world and benefit. Now you can gain also a lot of positive karma. But in addressing your initial question, though, what can that person do? The first thing, Gabrielle's obviously correct. You have to work on whatever emotional barrier or mental construct may be there that's putting you in this system of lack. Because otherwise, you're going to have to push the boulder uphill for a while. Now, for him, what he could do is, I would, in that type of situation, when you were doing these nightly things, and remember, you're just prepping yourself for the actual process. You're not even at the process yet. What I would do is I would call in, first of all, I would call in as a committee, a presidential figure, which would be your higher self. And then I would call in all of the prior lives that you can identify with, or any doppelgangers, simultaneous existence in parallel realities, whatever you believe in, whatever you can understand, I would call them in. That becomes your counsel. And then I would begin to look at those traits that all of those beings embody. Now, the higher self obviously is going to embody all of it, because it's the accumulation of all of the lives that you have had, through either linear or now experiences. So I would then begin to ask them, what is the greatest purpose I should embody, having all of your prior existences as this sort of wave pushing me forward? How then do I proceed in understanding what my purpose is? And then, engaging in the higher self can be interesting because a lot of times it wants to have the experience, so it may not come out and directly answer you, but it can give you some very interesting perspectives on how you could proceed. But that would be one approach. Utilize that same process, only this time you're calling in a different type of committee.
I have only one thing to add. Stubbornly forcing mental ideas is also a limitation, and it blocks you. Okay, moving on.
You have to remember, Gabrielle and I come from the masculine left brain. It's more mental. She comes from the feminine, the right brain, the more intuitive. So we represent two perspectives. For different people, for males, the thought processes itself is what is more, it's more driven. Whereas with females, the feeling aspects can be stronger. So utilize whichever it is that, benefit. Unless you're balanced, then do both. Okay.
Excellent. This is episode number 5 of the Maverick Mindset Show. We were answering questions. We were actually today basically moving through a process on how to manifest your dreams into reality. This is what we have been talking about. And I just asked a question about the importance and the way that someone that might be obsessed about, making their life purpose a reality, is it really a must? And I think that you both have given 2 different perspectives on how to do that and why is that important. So let's move on a little bit. So what would be the next, after identifying the thought patterns, what would be like the next stop on our journey to manifesting this reality?
Okay, so when you're looking, the key here is in the subconscious mind. Okay, so when you're looking at the subconscious, you can think of it as like this kind of magnet. All right, whatever has been vitally saturated through the definitive purpose into the subconscious, it will begin to attract. Okay, so again, you have this definitive purpose. You know what it is you're going to seek to do. You have begun the process of replacing these mundane sort of thoughts with higher frequency thought patterns to assist you. Now you have to understand that as you are walking through your day, okay, this subconscious magnet that's driven by this definitive purpose, it becomes a decided tendency that you are going to attract throughout your life. Okay, so what I mean by that is that as you are attracting this, you are going to be you're not only going to attract more positive thought processes, you're going to attract opportunities. Remember, like attracts like. Okay, so you're going to begin to attract people into your life. You're going to be able to attract events into your life and circumstances into your life. Okay, you're going to start seeing evidence of this. It starts slowly, and many times you'll miss it. All right, but it will kick into gear. The key is you've got to have the courage to act upon it. Okay, so you have to remember, people that are stuck in absorbing all of these thought processes through mass consciousness are stuck in these sort of mundane and in some cases painful lives. They are going to attract through the general reality of this 3D, existence, the same type of people and the same type of trends throughout their existence. I mean, they don't break out of this pattern. Even light workers, I sadly to say, or spiritual people, I have run into people in conferences and, kind of made friends with them, and they start telling me all of their woes and their problems and this and that. And I run into them 2-3 years later. The same problems are in place. And then I run into a decade later. It's a different series of problems, but the same genre are in place. Even for people that are on a path, if you don't break out of this mundane cycle, it will follow you. You will attract it, okay? And the exact same thing, or the opposite, is true for successful people. You'll notice that successful people, even if they go through bankruptcy and whatnot, they'll always turn out to become successful again. Why? Because that thought process, that subconscious driven definitive purposes that they have will attract the right people and everything else. Okay, remember, you're going to attract to yourself the people that harmonize with your subconscious philosophies, whether you wish it or not. All right, so the key is, let's have the right stuff embedded in our minds here. Okay, the matrix itself ensures that it is so. It doesn't care what you're putting out, it will provide it. Okay, and sometimes it will provide it in very destructive ways, or sometimes it can provide it in very productive ways. And what we're talking about overall is a general trend in your life. You want to have a successful life. You want to begin a series of these definitive purposes and successful endeavors throughout your life. So don't get in the habit of measuring on other people's successes or failures. You're focused on you. You're focused on attracting those, they call it a mastermind group or something, that are going to support you and help you. The key there then depends on how you're going to act on it when those opportunities and those people start to come in. Remember, success depends on power, the ability to, control environments and stuff. If power has to be accompanied with organized effort. And the first step in any kind of direction of organization with your definitive purpose may be that you're going to have to focus very strongly on what it is you are looking to do. And you're going to have to put everything else kind of on the back burner. So initially you want to, if it's success you want, say in your business, the other items at first, the relationships, all the other stuff, put that aside. You are focused on this, okay? When you have this definitive purpose, it's drawing that to you. If your thoughts are dissipated all over the place, even if they are positive thoughts, this energy gets spread out everywhere and it becomes ineffective, okay? It doesn't lead to the power, the ability to control the systems you're looking at it. The indecision actually leads to weaknesses. Now, as you begin to grow and develop this process and you have success and confidence in it, then you can be able to expand on things. And there's one other caveat to this. In many cases, you have to keep on doing it, because if your natural thought processes are more into the mundane, problem-related things, the minute you stop doing these type of visualizations and these activities and you're searching for these opportunities, guess what happens? Your subconscious flips back into what it knows best. You literally have to reprogram it. And reprogramming can take anywhere at minimum from 3 to 6 months.
You brought an extraordinary subject, and actually that made me think, we're talking today about it. The subject matter for today is the power of the mind manifesting dreams into reality. And correct me if I'm wrong about what I'm going to say, about the statement I'm going to make. But apparently, the right scientists have measured the magnetic field that both our thoughts and our heart make around us or create around us. And apparently, if I'm right, and probably you know this better than me, but from other people that we have been able to interview here at XPNsion Network, they say that the field that we create with our heart, with our love from our heart, is much more powerful than the field that is created through our thoughts.
Yes.
And considering that everything is energy, then I'm sure that you know where my question is going to go, which is, and you refer to masculine versus feminine, but does that mean if the field that the heart creates and the love creates is much more powerful than the mind, don't you think that it's not necessarily, or does that make females and female based personalities much more powerful creators and manifestors? Does that mean that maybe where does the love, where does the heart fit into the process that you are describing today?
Well, you just fell into the trap of believing that love or the heart is pure, right? Is a high vibration. For a lot of us, okay, so when I begin, I'm going to just talk about working with clients. Okay, so working with clients, generally they come to me because they are having issues, right, in their life. And they're like, why do I keep suffering? Let's just make it simple. Why am I continually suffering? Well, the work begins with clearing your heart, right? Your heart chakra, but your heart, not your high heart. So they're two different things. The high heart is your connection straight to your highest self. And for many people, when they come in, it's not as open as it can be or as it needs to be in order to be able to create that magnificent energetic field that you're talking about. So for a lot of people, think of it like a shrink wrap, right? For a lot of people, their energetic field is not vibrant. It is not emanating power. It is not emanating the love at that frequency to create anything instantaneously. Jesus and others were able to instantaneously create because they were already at a level of 700. Well, that's fantastic. We're looking at high love at 500. So we're talking about getting to that level. You start with healing your heart, then opening your high heart more, creating a stronger connection. Then, and of course, that means your emotional body. Then you work on the mind. So in my program, you don't get to work on the mind until stage 3, because you cannot convince the mind to give up its power, because that's its program. Its program is to help you survive, and it is in charge until your heart, your high heart connection is stronger than the mind. And when that happens, you're easily able to reprogram your mind and bring your mind into alignment with your heart and your spirit. And then the 3 of them work together. And when this happens, then your life explodes in a positive way. And you're able to have more clarity about what it is you want to create, what you do or do not want to do. But it's not based out of fear or lack of courage, or that you don't want to be bothered. It's because you know with conviction what it is you are meant to do and to be. And this is where we are all wanting to be, right? Imagine if everybody had that type of high vibrational conviction. It'd be freaking amazing. So for all of us, our minds are really powerful. However, the subconscious, in all truthfulness, is more powerful than your mind, because your mind basically gets its information and its triggers from what's in your subconscious. And that is triggered by your emotional body and your memories. So do you see how that works? That's why we work on the emotions and the heart first.
That's right, exactly.
Yep.
So then I guess that on your process, having this connection with your high heart is like one of the first stepping stones. It's like one of the first steps that we have to take to be able to do that afterwards. Is that correct?
Yes, it's also the easiest way, because guess what happens? You lose all that heavy energy that is killing that energetic force that you are, right? It's keeping you from your power. So when people say, the power is within you, right? Everybody loves to say it. Nobody knows how to do it. So this is what we're talking about right here, is that's the power within you. You are awakening, and you are supercharging that inner connection that is your power within. So that's your fuel source. So that's the emotion that Michael's talking about. When you add that, then your mind, the directive of your mind, knowing the actions you need to take because you are connected and divinely aligned, you become unstoppable. Now, I will give Michael, he is an amazing visualizer. And I honestly rely on him a lot for that part of our lives, because he's so very good at it. So the 2 of us, when we bring the energy that we have together, and this is where having that male-female thing really works great, is because I bring the other part, which is the emotional piece, and he brings that mental stability and that warrior directive. And it's amazing what we get done when we are on the same page.
So
please, before you continue, Mike, but let me ask you. I know it's an anecdotal question, but I have to ask it again. So, could you say that women are better manifestors than men, or not necessarily? What's your experience, according to your experience?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Have you seen like great manifestors in your life? What could you even say they all have in common?
It's all equal. It's women. Okay. What you talked about is absolutely true. When they have measured these fields, the heart, the electromagnetic fields that are created are magnitudes times stronger than the mind. Here's the thing, though. Imagine having this incredible, blinding light that is just shining light upon everything. Well, that's what you've accomplished. What's your purpose with that? You've loved everything. You have shined light on it all. Okay? It is the definitive purpose that sets the direction for the objective you want to complete. Without that beautiful light, that loving field,
that's it,
is rudderless. So you have to use it. So here's something that's very fascinating about all of this. And yes, what Gabrielle said is absolutely true. You want to be the best conduit you can possibly be. You want to clear out everything that you can possibly do. You want to work and program the subconscious. I mean, this is what essentially is operating you during your day. When you drive to work, you're not thinking about driving to work. That's how you want your subconscious being. Successful at whatever your endeavor is, whatever your definitive purpose, you are naturally enacting in that. So what happens here? So let's talk about the process, if we could, a little bit. All right. It's something referred to as kind of autosuggestion. So autosuggestion means that you are basically programming your subconscious on a daily basis. You are feeding it with the thoughts. And these could be these could be affirmations. These could be things that are written down that you do before you ever begin to even engage in a creative process. Okay. So your ability to use autosuggestion depends on your capacity and abilities to concentrate on your given desire. I'd like to say inspired desire, like what Gabrielle was talking about, where it's coming from a higher source. It's coming from your essentially, your higher self, or whatever you understand the super consciousness to be, your I am presence, whatever it may be. So that source is going to know what is of the most value to you. So if you want more abundance, that source will show you. Maybe it's not financial abundance only that you want. You want abundance, a financial abundance, and peace and tranquility. You don't want to have to work 100 hours a week or something like that. So you need to turn this literally at first, when you're doing this, almost into like an obsession, something that you are focused on at a conscious level quite often. And it seeps into your subconscious. So then the subconscious takes orders when given it, and it acts on them with absolute faith. The subconscious will act on it if it's a negative series of definitive purposes or positive. Okay. It really doesn't concern it. Only the thoughts, the ideas, and then we'll talk about the emotions here at the end. So here's a process. We can use perhaps Angela's, example here. So Angela, you would begin after you did all of the preliminaries to get yourself ready for this. You would visualize yourself in possession of that successful business. You will feel and know you're not just visualizing it. In your mind, you are spending time as if you were actually there. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference, folks. It doesn't know the difference if you're pole vaulting or you're visualizing your pole vaulting. That's what professional athletes have learned. They do these processes, okay? Picture it clearly. Picture it vividly in every minute detail. Enough with the excuses, I can't visualize. If you can't, figure out how to do it, and figure it out fast while you're doing the process of restructuring your mind, okay? Expect your subconscious. Know that your subconscious mind is going to deliver the actual plan that will achieve that success. So Angela, you're going to need to know what that success exactly is. a monetary figure, how long it's going to take, what kind of clients you want to draw to you. I mean, having tons of customers that don't pay anything or are problems, that is not something you want to create, obviously. You want to see mentors coming in to provide you with good examples how to do this, physical ones, not just the committee you create in your mind. You want to then see how your day-to-day activities are coming. You want to see your bank statements as they begin to fill up with cash, with digital currency now. I hope that doesn't go too far. See yourself rendering the service and delivering the merchandise, and more importantly, see the value being transferred into your customers, and see your customers going out pleased with that, and then creating word of mouth marketing for yourself. All of it. It all has to be done. But when it's done, it's always done from the perspective of highly successful. That's all that's in your mind. And then you walk around during your day thinking about this process as often as you can. If you need to write something down or create the vision board or create an affirmation and paste it up on your wall, whatever you need to do, those are just little tricks to help keep your conscious mind, sort of locked into that process. So, you can just think, how do I do this? Go into a quiet spot, get centered, close your eyes, maybe read your affirmation statements a couple of times, get at peace with it, and then begin this visualization that I told you about. Be in it. Use all 5 senses. That's the key while you're doing this. Remember, the subconscious doesn't know. Feel it. You can smell it. You can feel the satisfaction that's going on. Include the expectation that your subconscious is going to deliver this. All right. Make an active, dedicated commitment that you are then going to follow through with an action plan necessary as these opportunities begin to present themselves. Every morning when you wake up, the first thing you should do this process again, or at least read aloud what your statement is. As you are doing this visualization, you throw in as much higher frequency emotion as you can. That visualization sets the stage. It is that emotion, that intense love and joy that you get from growing this successful business, expanding this network out, being aware that maybe art isn't the end-all be-all of what you'll be doing. There may be opportunities for other things, and be open to what those are. And then flood it with love and joy, ensuring that it brings no harm to others, ensuring that it is specifically designed to bring you the peace, prosperity, and the inner knowingness that you are creating something of value to yourself and perhaps to your higher self as well in this life. Okay?
Awesome.
And you just keep doing it.
Excellent. We are definitely not going to have time to finish the entire process. I would like to ask to let the audience know next week. We promise to finish the process next week. There's a lot to be talked about manifesting your dreams, the power of your mind, manifesting your dreams into reality. We promise to continue next week. There's a lot of things that Michael and Gabrielle want to share. Remember, this is the Maverick Mindset Show every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US. We are here at XPNsion Network, accelerating the consciousness of humanity. And it's been a pleasure to have you here. I think today we have been extremely specific of what to do. We appreciate the questions from Angela. Angela is super excited. We are excited to have you, obviously. Any final thought that you would like to quickly share with the audience before we go? Gabrielle or Michael?
Just practice. I think that really the answer to your question earlier, male or female, it isn't that. It's what's your determination? How determined are you to be a creator? That's what matters.
Yeah. Male, female, that's not what's consequential. The key is, again, this is the last key I'll give. You must do it. It is not a New Year's resolution that lasts a couple of weeks. People fail at this regularly for only one reason. They're not committed to the process, or they lose confidence in it because it doesn't come as fast as you want. You have to remember, the matrix, the universe, it's forming itself around this entire magnetic system that you're putting into place. It can take time.
Absolutely. So thank you very much. I'm sure that everybody has enjoyed this conversation with Gabrielle and Michael Spencer today. We have been showing, we have been, on the ticker line at the bottom of the screen, we have been showing how to connect, how to talk with Michael and Gabrielle. Feel free to connect with them anytime you have been watching. You are watching this in several media outlets from XPNsion Network, from myself, from Gabrielle, and from Michael, and also obviously after social media outlets, this content is going to be shared also on our, on our accounts, on our outlets, on Roku TV and on Amazon Fire TV, which are loaded with literally thousands and thousands of pieces of content, as exciting and as full of wisdom as the ones we have been creating at this Maverick Mindset Show with Gabrielle and Michael. Thank you for being with us today. Again, thank you, Angela, for joining us, for your questions, for your dreams. Let us know if you start manifesting your dream for next week, please. Thank you so much. We love you guys. God bless you. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.